Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. Hi. To my first impressions, well, they're not really first impressions, but my first articulated impressions in a video about Chiori. I wanted to make this video because, honestly, the leaks we've had so far have been an emotional roller coaster for me when it comes to what I think about her, and I wanted to use the opportunity to talk about a few of the things that I think they're doing right with her and a few of the things that I think they're doing wrong. And yeah, just overall get my thoughts out there. So, also, keep in mind, this is not the pre-release. The pre-release analysis is going to come later. This is not an analysis. This is just impressions. Quick little discussion. It's not going to be as long, and it's not going to be as thorough either. So, effectively, Chiori is Alba 2. Instead of Albedo, it's Albedo. She's an off-field geo damage dealer. She's skilled with both attack and defense, so she's a split skiller. And yeah, that's basically all she does. The way that she does her damage is when she uses her skill, she summons a doll, and the doll will hit enemies. But if you have a geo construct when you use your skill, or if you summon a geo construct later, you'll get 2 dolls. So effectively, her skill damage is doubled if you have a geo construct. It's not actually doubled because there's a part of it that comes just from using the skill, not from how many dolls you have, right? But it is basically a lot more damage. So effectively, she's incentivized to be played in teams that run geo constructs. And right now, teams that run geo constructs that would like to run an additional geo unit is basically only mono geo. I think that's actually good. The last geo unit we've had released, and in my opinion, I don't consider Navia to really be a geo unit because, like, yes, literally she is geo, but Geo's identity as an element is mono Geo, right? In the same way that Chao is like not really an Animo unit. And then like the main archetype of Geo is mono Geo because, I mean, its residence is the best one. It's the only one that only affects actual Geo teams because, or that significantly affects Geo teams more than other teams because it shreds Geo resistance. Geo units are very much designed to work with other Geo units. Point being, right, Navia's doesn't really fit that mold. And the last Geo character we got before that, Yunjin, also doesn't. Which means the last real Geo character we've got is Ito. And it's something I've mentioned in the past that I think that the main problem with Geo as an element is basically just when you design an element around, okay, we want the characters of this element to synergize with other characters of this element, you have to keep releasing characters of the damn element. I've been relatively vocal in the past about how I think that the problem with Geo isn't anything that Geo is actually doing or not doing, it's just that they're not releasing Geo units. And that's why I wasn't too happy when they decided to make Navia basically not a Geo unit. And that's why I was really happy to see Chiori's kit actually work with constructs. But that doesn't mean that there are no problems with it. So first, constructs can kind of suck because the way that constructs work, right, is when you summon your construct, they exist here and they have a certain amount of health. Constructs can be destroyed by damage, as you've probably noticed if you've ever played Albedo against Magu Kenki. Whenever Magu Kenki does his when he changes phase, your flower disappears. That's fine, I don't think there's a problem with that. The issue comes with the fact that constructs can also be destroyed by their hitbox overlapping with bosses. What that means is that if bosses walk near your construct just disappears, and that just feels like shit. And I really wish that they found a way to fix that somehow before actually releasing characters that synergize with constructs. Now, in Chiori's case, she's mainly going to be played in Ito teams, and in Ito teams, Fushi counts as a construct and doesn't get destroyed by hitbox overlap because he just gets pushed away. That being said, like, I do really want to make it clear, I think that Chiori's design is good for the game. The idea of having Geo work best with other Geo, it effectively makes it a very simple element. Which is fine, because there's a lot of elements in this game, right? There's fucking 7. And if one of them is a little bit more simple, a little bit more like, oh yeah, you just bash your head against the wall and that's that, I don't think there's something wrong with that. That's why I don't think Crystallize needs to be changed. And I think that design-wise, Geo is fine as it is. Not every element needs to be the same amount of complicated, or the same amount of elaborate, I guess. But yeah, anyways, that being said, a couple days ago, we've learned that apparently Chiori used a snapshot defense for her damage, and now she doesn't. And because Goro's elemental skill gives a buff to the active character, not to your whole party, it means that it significantly reduces her damage in those themes, which is unfortunate. But even before that, the description of the skills in the initial leaks said that her elemental skill had AoE. It said it dealt damage in an area. It has no AoE. It's like EIE, where like technically it can hit 2, but it won't. She's not gonna be bad. She is going to be a pretty significant upgrade, at least from what I've seen. Pretty significant upgrade to Albedo in Ito teams, and playable outside of Ito teams. Like, for example, you will be able to use her with Navia if you really want to. That's not what she's designed for, but because our current options for a second Geo unit with Navia all fucking suck, then she's still competitive even if you don't get the second doll from having a Geo construct. I also think that they actually managed to make a character that replaces Albedo that also doesn't invalidate Albedo, because effectively, if they keep going with this design philosophy, the design idea of having GOB make construct and get benefits based on your constructs, then it would only make sense that the characters that have constructs in their kit are weaker than the characters that don't, because you get to play them with other characters that need constructs and that are overall stronger. And so I feel like they've found a way to make a character that improves upon Albedo in a relatively significant way without completely invalidating Albedo. Now, do I think Albedo is going to be all that great once she's out? Obviously not, but you'll still be able to play him with her. You'll be able to play Albedo in your Ito teams with her, and it's going to be a little bit scuffed in general, but anytime you're fighting against enemies with an innate elemental infusion, you can do your crystallized shields and get your geo resonance that way. So you don't necessarily need to use Zhongli. If you have Goro C4, you still have some amount of defensive utility. It's not as good, but it'll be playable. And like, if you don't have Zhongli and you have Albedo, it won't be that much worse. So like, it'll be fine. So overall, I really like, when it comes to the design, I am very happy with what they did. I just really hope that they don't keep fucking her over, right? The E being basically only single target and the defense not slapshotting are not good signs. They're not good first impressions to get off of a character. But yeah, that's basically it for my first impressions on her. I'll obviously get more into the numbers, into the builds, all of that in the pre-release analysis, so subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you guys on the next one.